Good morning. It's a pleasure and it's a honor for me to be here and talk about a few things what's happening in campus. But before that, I wanted to share a perspective from what happens locally can have even a global impact. An instant from history. Few countries, particularly some subcontinents, for example, India and South America, at one point, not far long ago, when they were suffering with significant food insecurity and up to a point of famine, the the innovations done by agricultural scientists and researchers have made a prominent and significant impact, turning from famine to one of the largest exporters of food. Um, that shows what can be done in research, even on agriculture locally, can have a global impact. We can impact masses and masses of individual lives. So we take a big pride of what research happens at this Prairie View A&M, and being vice president for research, innovation, and commercialization, our office is interested and engaged in College of Agriculture and their research to see how we can take it to the next level. I'm so proud of our agricultural scientists, researchers, and like the work Dr. Myers is doing on the Integrated Food Security and Research Center, which is a part of our Texas A&M Chancellor's research initiative. It's going to bring external researchers outside the Texas to strengthen more on this area of food security. Those are core elements how we can address as researchers, professors, scientists at Prairie View to contribute to world food concerns. And with that note, I want to also highlight we are focused on innovation beyond research. How what are the innovations we can do in agriculture that we can partner with engineering, technology, business, and collaborate and take it to the next level, train our students, faculty, and staff to be innovators or even entrepreneurs from the innovations that they do. Those are the things that our office is focused on, and we are very proud to see a lot of such initiatives happening, and congratulations to the dean on that leadership in that direction. Some of the initiatives are happening are on food security, certainly, and medicinal plants, plant testing, things of those nature that has large impact, that can have a large impact in our university. Remember, Prairie View is one of the two land grant institution in the entire state of Texas, which is a pride, but also it's a responsibility for us to lead the state of Texas on agriculture. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to meet you, and hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next, we've heard a lot about our students, and we are pleased to have a representative from the Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Timothy Sams.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I think it's often lost upon us as we move about our campus that many of our students are experiencing food insecurity. We look at their faces and they seem engaged, enthusiastic about being here. And for many of our students, believe it or not, this is the best situation they've had in a long time. But that could easily masquerade the fact that they're hungry, that they're not getting on a daily basis the degree or the amount of nutrition that they need to be very aggressive and demonstrate prowess in your classroom, to do the midterms that they have to take care of this week. It is interesting to think about the statistic that Dr. Myers quoted earlier, where he said about 41% of the nation's college and university students go hungry. And to think about the idea that half of our students walk around this campus with an 800-acre farm and yet are still hungry. We do know that. We know that here at Prairie View. We've heard our students talk about it. And what is remarkable in Sarah Goldrick Rabb's research, when she founded the Hope Center 20 years ago, what's remarkable is that on our nation's college campuses, we walked around unaware of the fact that students were hungry. It was only 20 years ago and before that we had very little awareness about hunger and students and performance, academically, research-wise, and the remarkable work that she's done, and now she's taken to Temple University. We are now very well aware of the fact. But here at Prairie View, we have a lot of work to do. We began some of that work this year in the form of an emergency resource center, which we call Hilltop Reserve, which seeks to recognize myriad of items that nourish our students, not just from a dietary standpoint, but from a homeless standpoint, from financial insecurity standpoint, just a host of resources that our students need in order to be successful. We've done everything on our colleges and universities based on our awareness of the things that lead to students not performing. We built tutorial centers. We've created residential colleges. We've created mentoring programs. We've created, supplemental instruction. I want to encourage us to think about the next frontier of our work to removing barriers for our students, to be from A to Z, to remove those financial barriers that they experience, of which hunger is one of them. If we are truly committed to graduating every student who arrives on our campus, it can never be lost upon us that they're hungry. And there's no reason that a school of our resources, a school of our capacity, of our talent, of our commitment to our students, cannot lead the nation in erasing the degree to which our students are hungry, and to turn that back to this country and to become the exemplars of this work. So I ask that you continue to join us in student affairs and across the institution, in addressing our food insecurity and the whole host of insecurities that our students experience. Welcome to today's activity, and it truly represents the fact that this is one of the right topics at the right time, and truly PV is the right place to do it. Thank you.
Next, we will have greetings from Dr. Gerard De Souza, the Dean and Director of Land Grant Programs here with the College of Ag and Human Sciences.
Good morning, Ashley, and everybody else, and thanks so much for commemorating this day with us. This is a special day, but it's just one day. Here in this college, we think and we research and we educate about food security every day, because that is important if we're going to be able to be in a position to make a difference to this great problem called hunger. And so the important thing is to ask ourselves, what is our why? And in this respect, I hark back to about a year ago when we had a guest speaker by the name of Jeff Simmons, the CEO and president of Elanco, who was here on this very stage and who asked this very question. And he's passionate about food security and trying to make a difference about it. And since he posed that question, I have been asking myself, what is my why? Why did I move myself, my family, 2,000 miles away here? And the answers that I came up with is food security, hunger, poverty. And I've experienced some of this. I grew up in India, didn't grow up poor, but I had a lot of poor friends. And I experienced hunger on a campus in the US, on a college campus, as a grad student. Many of us as grad students, there's days that we didn't have money to buy food and so on. So so I can relate to some of these issues and experience some of them. But those are some of the whys that resonate with me. The other why that resonates with me is because I am in a position to make a difference. I have the privilege and the pleasure of being the dean of the only comprehensive agricultural college in the greater Houston area. You folks, yes. And you all are part of this great college as well. A college that resonates with the land grant mission, and that is important at the end of the day. That is one of our core values as an agricultural college, is to serve the needs of our communities through research, through extension, and through education. And so those are some of the whys that we have to ask ourselves, each one of us as individuals, what is our why? Why do we go about doing what we do to make a difference? And at the end of the day, it is us that are in a fortunate position to make differences, meaningful differences, to address this issue. Much like the Nobel Prize in Economics recently was given to folks who came up with local solutions to poverty. And as we know, poverty and hunger go hand in hand. And so they just came up with solutions. Does not mean that poverty disappears in a day. Does not mean that hunger is going to disappear in a day. But indeed, if these folks work together to come up with experimental ways of addressing poverty in the US and worldwide, I think we have all the ingredients in place to make magic, as I heard one of my colleagues say not too long ago. We have the ingredients in place to address this problem of hunger in our communities and beyond. And so I also want to recognize some special guests in addition to dignitaries from the university and Frank Jackson and some of the other folks who've graced us with your presence. We also have Dr. Carrie Wilson, who came all the way from Indiana back there. And so she was instrumental in bringing Jeff Simmons here to campus a year ago to talk about food insecurity and some of these other topics. But she's also here to recruit students, our students, to careers in Elanco animal care. And we already have a couple of our students working for Elanco and doing great things. And so she wants to continue to build that pipeline. So she has a busy day ahead of her, meeting and greeting students and trying to recruit up the best students to go to work for companies like herself. Another great group of individuals that I met with recently are from Cleburne, Texas. And if you would raise your hands. So they're from a company called Eden Green. Google it, make a note of it, Google it, Eden Green Technologies. So the future of farming is going to be technology-based. Why? Because land is diminishing at an alarming rate. Population is growing. So this idea of vertical farming in urban areas like Houston resonate with us. So technological solutions that are sustainable and that are affordable and that can feed a growing population are important, an important component to what we do. Not everything is going to be greenhouse-based. Indeed, we have this 800-acre farm that we're trying to figure out how to address problems like hunger and poverty and so on. But if you've not already seen it, look at that model outside of a vertical greenhouse. So these folks came and assembled it for us. We only met them less than a week ago. A few of us drove over there. We saw this great 1-acre vertical farming greenhouse, and we're very impressed. And without anything other than a handshake, they were nice enough to offer to drive all the way to Colorado to pick up one of those models, drive back to Cleburne, pick up some plants along the way, and then come back here overnight, a 24-hour drive with a few hours of sleep. Drove in last night, and the first thing this morning, they set this up for us. So a big shout out to these people to make this happen. So these are the kind of partnerships that we have to develop, because hunger is too big a problem for an individual working as a leader of a center to address. So it takes a team, it takes partnerships, it takes relationships, And this is a relationship with Eden Green that we hope grows and flourishes, much like those vegetables growing in that model we have. So, so many other folks who are here with us, who are an important part of what we do. And at the end of the day, I'm really pleased to be here at this wonderful institution where we operate under the assumption that food is health. So food and nutrition are front and center to what we do as a College of Ag and Human Sciences. And so, so once again, welcome everybody and enjoy the rest of the day, but also think about why we're here. Food system is vulnerable, and at the end of the day, it is our job to make sure that we address these vulnerabilities. So thanks again for organizing it, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you for those great inspirational words, Dr. DeSouza. Next, we have, we're going to take a little break and just acknowledge the Dean of the College of Business, Dr. Munir Kadus. Where are you? Thank you. At this time, I'll give you the opportunity if you would like to say some words or if you just want to be acknowledged. Okay. But thank you for coming and showing your support. Continue. Oh, Frank Jackson. I don't. Oh, Associate Chancellor. I apologize. Associate Chancellor for Government Relations, Dr. Frank Jackson. There, in the back, red tie. Thank you for your presence and your support. Moving on, we will have remarks from Dr. Alfred Parks, Interim Associate Director for CARC.
Thank you all and good morning. I'm happy to be here this morning to say a word or two on this so important of topic when I think about food security. I'm an agricultural economist by training, so I remember back in the day reading about Malthus when he said that the population would grow so fast we would have inability to keep up, therefore we would all starve. And by his projections back in those days, we would all be starved by now and we wouldn't be here. But we found out that's not so because we have a lot of people with a lot of great ideas who continue to do those things to make it possible. But in the midst of all of that, you've heard some numbers. And I looked at some numbers and I'm saying to myself, why is it in 2019, even here in Waller County, Texas, Houston, Texas, that we have so many people that we define as food insecure? And we look at that and we ask ourselves the question, well, you know, what goes on with that? This is an important topic. So many people are food insecure, which means they don't have access to the proper food on a regular basis. That's how we generalize. So we're looking at that, and I look at Texas in particular, and some of the work that we are currently doing in CARC is looking at quality of life factors, and food is one of those. It's not the only one. You've heard the term that we've made popular, food deserts. But guess what else we discovered that's also important? Right here in Waller County, we call it a medical desert, Frank Jackson. We call Waller County a medical desert. Realize there are only 2 doctors in Waller County that's operating. And that's scary when the population continues to grow. We don't have access to medical care. But I wanted to say a little bit about this issue, though, of food insecurity and how important it is from my perspective. We look at Texas in particular, and we're looking at quality of life factors, and food, of course, is one of those. And we realize 96 of our 254 counties are considered average income is below poverty, which means income is low, therefore they don't have the means, they don't have the income to even purchase the food if it is available. One of my graduate students a few years ago did a study on food availability, food access, and food affordability. And I think about that, and I was reflecting on some of the numbers that we generated back at that time. In the U.S., we have what we call availability, which means we produce a lot. Per capita availability in the U.S. is not bad. We produce way more than we need, and we have some to share. But how does that trickle down to so many people who don't have access? So it can be available if it's not accessible, which means it's not in my community. It's not in my reach. It's not in my means to get it. Then it's no use to me if I can't access it. It's not close by. I've got to drive for miles just to get to a store. And when I get there, I might not have the means to get there, which means it's just of no use to me. But when you think about that, and then of course the affordability thing in so many communities, and these are issues that I think we can rally around. I'm bullish on the future. When I teach my marketing class, I talk to my students about things that we talk about. For them, it's what I want, when I want it, where I want it, how I want it, and at a price that I can afford. These are things that I talk about in my ag marketing class, and we talk about to the students. But when I think about it here, that's exactly what it is. We live in a society now. We want things instantly. We want it where we want it. We want it when we want it. We want it in a form in which we want it. And then that's a challenge back to us as researchers and educators to make sure that happens so that we have a secure future from a food perspective in order to have a healthy society, particularly among our young folks in America. So I'm excited about, being here today as part of the program to recognize the importance of this day as we celebrate, World Food Day, to bring this to the forefront, because it takes all of us doing our part to make sure that we meet the challenges that we face now and into the future. Thank you all for these opportunities.
Next, we will have remarks from Dr. Kweko Ado, Associate Dean for Academic Programs with the College of Ag and Human Sciences.
Okay, good morning. Yeah, I'd like to acknowledge, I think I see a few students in here. So for those students who are here, could you please stand and be recognized? Well, let's acknowledge our students. Thank you for being here. Yeah, good. Today, as we celebrate World Food Day, I bring you greetings on behalf of students, faculty, and staff in the academic unit of the College of Agriculture and Human Sciences. Through course offerings, such as our Land Grant System and Global Food Security course, where students are required to examine designated problems related to global food security and to present proposed solutions, to our Nutrition and Wellness course, which covers hunger and the future of food, where questions such as, with our abundant food supply, is anyone in the U.S. hungry? And can one person make a difference to the world's food problem? And to our Food Distribution Systems course, which addresses topics such as global food systems and access to healthy foods. We in the academic unit are committed to and will continue to educate and prepare graduates to tackle poverty and hunger and all of the other challenges which are afflicting many nations, including our own. Let's work together to make this world a better place for us and for generations to come. Thank you.
Next up, we will have words from the Cooperative Extension Program from Dr. Rakia Drawhood, Program Leader for 4-H and Youth Development.
Good morning. I was asked to share with you a little bit about why I believe food security is important. And I would say that being a person from Detroit, Michigan, which is the poster child for food deserts and urban poverty, there's a great correlation between poverty and food insecurity. And I witnessed that firsthand growing up, as well as I had a crash course in the importance of food security about 15 years ago when I became a extension agent for Michigan State University. And I ended up uh, not knowing, going into the position, knowing more about youth development than I knew about agriculture. And I was immersed in an environment, in a tradition where we taught kids about gardening and we taught them about where their food comes from. And I remember my first conversation with a teenager where she literally argued with us about, because she would not believe that French fries come from potatoes. So we worked really closely with a number of organizations like the Greening of Detroit and the Detroit Ag Network. And we taught young people about urban farming, about ag entrepreneurship. We worked with them to staff and develop farmers markets, youth farmers markets. We taught them through traditional 4-H programs like Junior Master Gardener. And we actually were the first urban farm in the state of Michigan to be verified by the Michigan Agricultural Environmental Assurance Program for our cropping system. So that is to say that what I did, becoming an extension agent, what I learned about food security and the importance of teaching people about where their food comes from and how they can grow their own food and preserve their food, that is very typical of extension programs all around the country. That is very typical of the experience of anybody who comes into the extension community. You don't have to know anything, but you won't leave that way. You will learn about where food comes from, and you will learn about the importance of teaching others about how to prepare food and how to budget for their food based on their income and things like that. So what I want to say is that in extension, we take an interdisciplinary approach to reducing hunger where we are in the state. We teach nutrition to youth and adults. We train individuals and organizations on how to develop and sustain community and school gardens. We support the development of local farmers markets. We provide education and technical support to assist small farmers with increasing their productivity. We help families, again, with budgeting for their grocery shopping, meal planning, and preserving foods. We conduct food demonstrations and develop recipes to make nutritious foods desirable. And we provide education on diet and chronic disease management. And some of the programs that we have in that area is the Expanded Food and Nutrition Education Program, the Heroes for Health program that uses teen ambassadors as health advocates in their community, targeting 3rd to 5th graders. We have a Growing You program across the state that focuses on elementary school students and teaching them about nutrition as well. We have cooking classes like the Taste of African Heritage. We have a community agricultural school sustainability program where we teach young people about agriculture, conservation, ag production, and we have a diabetes education awareness program. So in terms of the importance of the World Food Day, the theme for this year is Our Actions Are Our Future. And so I believe that this day is an opportunity for us to renew our commitment to zero hunger. And most of that will take us traditionally to think about poverty, to think about access to quality, nutritious, diverse foods as a human right. But I like the theme this year particularly because it's an opportunity for us to renew our commitment to ourselves. When we talk about healthy diets, it can also be about healthy choices. The choices we as individuals make about the foods that we eat and how we prepare our foods. I was just listening to NPR on the way up here, and they were talking about the difference between urban areas and how lots of people get foods that are already prepared. And so we can have a lot of food, but we can still not have the proper nutrition that we need. And that can lead to chronic diseases like obesity, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. And so not only is this an opportunity to see what we're doing as organizations and individuals to impact our community, but we can start with ourselves with the choices that we make as well. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody who welcomed us this morning and gave us something to think about. In order to solve a problem, you definitely have to identify the problem, and it's good to see that from the very top at Ruth Simmons to the work here done in the different colleges around campus, that we have all identified the problem, and we all know that there are things that we can do to help solve this problem locally as well as globally. So I would like to thank you for all of those welcomes. We will take a brief break. We will come back right now. It is 9:55. We will return at 10, and you don't want to miss it. Our first speaker up is the Honorable David Allen, who is the mayor of Prairie View. So we would like to start on time. So if we could just take 5 minutes. Speakers, if you have a flash drive or need to upload something, now is the time to come and upload your presentations. Thank you.